Today we're talking all about being a genius. Let's get it.
I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, what's happening? Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today we're talking all about genius, okay? Genius, what is genius? As Elizabeth Gilbert says, there's no such thing as being a genius, you have a genius, okay? Think of it like a spirit helper in a sense, where you're tapping into a certain frequency that you can create with. I love this definition of genius that you put into action what you have in your mind, right? You put into effect what you have going on in your mind. I think that's a brilliant way to define genius, because geniuses not only think about stuff, they're doing things with what they're thinking about. And a lot of the times, people have genius potential. That means they're just thinking about it, but they're not acting on the things that they say that they're going to do. So one of the things that you really want to understand about genius is not getting trapped in the identity of being a genius, but instead having others label you as a genius from your beingness and your understanding that you are tapping into a certain frequency. You are becoming a conduit for this thing. You are getting out of your own way for flow state to take over. Okay? Shout out to Arslan. I really want to mention this very briefly because I think it's relevant. Because when we're tapping into this genius zone, it is a very quasi-mystical God state in a sense, okay? The geniuses of the planet, they're tapping into a spiritual or religious experience, whether that's in front of a canvas, on stage, wherever they are, right? They are tapping into that certain flow state frequency. Some scientists might try to predominantly capture this and be like, hey, it's 8 hertz per second, right? However, I think it's way more than that. These little gamma jumps that we get in the flow state, that's where the genius happens. That's that Jimmy Neutron type of brainwave pattern, right? Where only advanced meditators can tap into this. Only channelers who are authentic channelers can tap into this. So you want to really understand that as you're getting into more flow, you have more access to these gamma jumps, these little pockets of aha moments or epiphanies or insights that come in. And that's truly what makes a genius, is somebody who actively achieves this altered state of consciousness. Arslan in class yesterday, he was talking about the Persian word khuda, which means God. Then there's also khud in Urdu, which means the self. Okay? My mom always used to tell me when I got tattoos, khudar or khud koriye. Is this idea of the self and God, right? God comes from a word which is self. The same thing in Sanskrit. We have Atma, which is the self, and we have Para Atma, which is God. In the same way, it's contained in the word itself. We have this God form. We have this gnosis, divine spark, whatever you want to call it, right? We have that frequency within us. We just have to tap into it. That's how you become a genius. A genius is just a person who's tapping into that frequency on a consistent basis. They're not doing it sometimes and then giving up. They're not like a one-hit wonder, right? They're not like, I'm T-Pain, all right? It's a bartender. And then suddenly he stopped making music. It's not like that, man. I don't know. I'm not a big T-Pain fan. Maybe he is still making music. I guess I'm just making that assumption. But you get what I mean, right? They're these one-hit wonders. And you remember that one song, but then they stopped making music. They stopped creating. They stopped geniusifying themselves because they're not building the character. We are what we repeatedly do. And so if you want to be a genius, you have to do genius things. How do you do genius things? You have to get mastery over your craft. You have to get a skill set. That's where you're adding value to the world. That's what being higher value means. You have a specific mastery over a specific area. And then by doing that, you become the genius. Okay? So So Paratma Atma, right? So God, self, as I mentioned. But then there's also this word, autotelic. In flow state, we say flow state is autotelic, meaning it's a reward by itself. So if you see self-God, this is about auto, which is self, and telos, the Latin, which means end or result or goal. Julia Cameron has this idea of good orderly direction, right? So again, God is this movement, it's this momentum, it's this let's get moving, it's that energy. It's not static, it's dynamic, as my past mentor Vince used to say, you know? Really start to understand that the autotelic state is the flow state, and we can make the same link. That we have auto, we have self, but then we have an end goal, a telos. We're self-driven. We have a self-goal in mind. We have a self-end. We are in an end of it in itself. Begin with the end in mind, they say. Yes, you must live in that frequency. You must live in that genius state. And that's what I'm telling you to do. That's how you become a genius, is you tap into genius. Whatever that is, whatever that means to you. You take a look at all these geniuses out there, right? How would you see the world through their eyes? How would you see the world through their eyes? Like, really start to ask yourself this. You know, Rykov method, if you've ever heard of Rykov, amazing, brilliant man. He's a genius in my eyes because he could tap into the frequency of a genius by using this hypnosis technique where you take off the head of a genius. Let's say I take off Einstein's head and I put it over my own head as a helmet. This is a hypnosis, by the way, not really, okay? So you're wearing his head and you're seeing the world through Einstein's eyes. How would Einstein see your reality right now? What would he change up? What would he start doing? Maybe he has a huge blackboard in his room where he's just doing equations, right? Maybe he's thinking differently. Maybe he's taking more walks in nature than you are. Now really start to adopt that frequency and channel the energy of those geniuses and see the world through a genius's eyes. Whoever you deem as a genius. It could be Da Vinci, it could be Tesla, you know. It could be Marilyn Manson for all I know. You know, I don't know who you're into. But the fact is, you're really tapping into that state of mind by looking and perceiving the world through their eyes. So if you're a painter, you see the world as a painting. If you're a musician, you see the world as musical notes. And that's how you truly tap into the power of your genius. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you have any questions, you know, you can always shoot me a message. Let's get into a conversation. I am a flow state coach, so I can help you gain that mastery over your own command of your consciousness. I have my event today, day one, Writing Reality. It was absolutely phenomenal. You know, we released a lot of gunk. Shout out to Tony and Rai, who attended that, as well as Dissy. And it was an absolutely phenomenal event. I don't want you to miss it. So if you still want to catch the recordings, or if you want to go to day 2, you know, shoot me a message ASAP, and we'll get you in that group pronto. Okay. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it today. Boom.